Obviously, I'm a person on Earth, and you're a person on Earth, and it was impossible after I was done writing this column last night to escape what was on television last night, right? Like, we were all in this country watching who was going to be the next president of the United States.
I was watching The Diplomat on Netflix and following along.
Were you really?
Yes. Yes.
I wanted to watch Shrinking with my wife, but she wanted to watch the results because I guess it is just an important thing to be aware of. But anyway, anybody who knows me knows I'm just not a political person at all. But it occurred to me as I was watching this on TV and arguing with people on Twitter about the playoff that the politics psyche and the college football psyche are the exact same. The only thing that people can see, feel, think, and want are what they find true to them. So in politics, you have your candidate, you have your platforms, and whatever information you consume that supports what you already think or feel is the candidate that you're probably going to like, and everything they do is right and everything the other candidate does is wrong. In college football, in the playoff system, you have a favorite team, and the only way that you can process and analyze information is through the lens of what it means for your favorite team. So, like, for me, I like to think, even though people agree and disagree sometimes, that I'm an unbiased view at this. I don't care where Penn State's ranked, and I don't care where Indiana is ranked. I think it should be just. And when I looked at the rankings last night, Andy, and to a certain extent the same goes for SMU, I do not understand why Penn State is ranked higher than Indiana. It's only 2 spots. And yes, before we go deeper into this, I understand that Indiana gets to play Ohio State, things will work itself out. But I still happen to think that the rankings, when they're made, shouldn't rely on, well, it's going to work itself out. I think they should be accurate in the moment. If we're going to discuss these things and put the time and the effort to, have a show and write about it, that this is an important thing to get right in the moment. And I don't think that this was right. And the one metric, Andy, that I have heard Thriller, that Penn State has an advantage in this area over SMU and Indiana is strength of schedule, right? Like, we can't strength of record. We can't go through this segment
strength
without
of schedule. Yes, their schedule to this point has been harder than Indiana's and harder than SMU's.
But the thing that I don't understand about the ranking, Andy, is that what is more important? Like, how you performed in the games or the secondary metrics that go and show you how impressive your resume is? Like, I'm not here to argue that Penn State's record or strength of record is not harder than Indiana's. But what we've seen from these two teams is, on one hand, with Penn State, they've played a relatively easy schedule. They have no quality wins in terms of top 25 teams that are in the playoff committee's rankings. And they have lost at home the only game against a good team that they've played. Meanwhile, Indiana has not lost. They've played a bad, easy schedule. They got a very good draw from the Big Ten, but they have beaten every single person or every team on their schedule by 14 or more points, including a 47-0 run against Michigan State on Saturday. I understand and realize that Indiana does get to play Ohio State in a few weeks. I understand that their strength of record will go up when they play Ohio State. But the number one selling point for Penn State right now, Andy, is that they played a really good team tough. Their number one bullet point. You keep saying
strength of record. I think when you mean strength of schedule. Strength of record is what the average team would do against this schedule. Nice bottle of Huel, Black Edition. 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals. I know exactly what's in here. When I drink this for breakfast, I know exactly what I'm getting in my body, and it helps me set up perfectly for the rest of my day. I love Huel. You can do the chocolate, you can do the vanilla. It's perfectly balanced nutrition, and you can just grab it and go when you're busy, and that is amazing. No more skip meals, no more unfulfilling snacks. Huel makes it easy with nutrition that fits into your life. So right now, go to HUEL-dot.com. That's HUEL.com. Use the code STAPLES and get 15% off your first order. So HUEL.com, code STAPLES, 15% off your first order. You might want to throw in one of those Huel t-shirts because I'm telling you, they're the best workout t-shirts in the world. But HUEL.com, code STAPLES, 15% off. I know you're busy. Me too. Grab a Huel, go. You're good to go. And so let me ask you this. If Penn State played Indiana's schedule, would Penn State also be undefeated and also have pretty resounding wins in those games?
I think that they would have a chance to be, right? Like we can't just play the assumption game.
No, but that's what strength of record is. That's what it tries to determine.
But here's what I want to
strength of schedule.
I read a lot about this on Twitter, is that if Indiana played Penn State's schedule, they would have lost too. And it's like, okay, that's possible. Do we know that? And also, if you do think that,
I don't know that USC would have beaten Indiana.
Yeah, and I also don't know that Ohio State's going. Like, are you at the point right now where it's a guaranteed loss that Indiana will lose to Ohio State? I think Ohio State's probably going to win, but I don't think that it's guaranteed.
It's not a guarantee. Based on the way Indiana's playing, it's not a guarantee.
And I also don't know that Penn State would even beat Indiana head-to-head. So for the time being, if at the end of the road, we have all the results in there and Penn State lost to Ohio State by the same margin and you want to rank them ahead at the end of the road, that makes sense to me.
So
that would make sense to me, but doing it now doesn't make any sense because I don't know. So let me ask you though, Andy, because I need to understand this, because if I'm not understanding this correctly, this is a perfect forum to figure it out. What is more important resume-wise for Penn State? Its strength of schedule or its record? Like, why are we prioritizing their...
Yes, they're both important.
What's more important?
Both. Because if you play an easy schedule, we don't know if you would have lost if you'd played a harder schedule. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's why we need to see Indiana against Ohio State.
But
we
in
need
the time
to know
being,
what they
where
look
should
like
they
against
be?
A good team.
Knowing that we're going to get that gift, where should they be right now?
Right about where they are.
So you think that the ranking is correct?
I don't care.
Oh, I care. I want
They're
it to be
close
right.
enough. Like SMU, I think SMU has a better argument.
So let's break that down.
Yes. Let's do a little blind resume. We made some blind resume cards.
All right, go ahead.
Team A, Team B, Team C. Team A is 7-1. The Sagarin strength of schedule is 32. The FPI strength of schedule is 28. The record versus the Sagarin top 30 is 1-1. And the scoring differential is plus 146. Team B is 8-1. Their Sagarin strength of schedule is 60. Their FPI strength of schedule is 71. Their record versus the Sagarin top 30 is also 1-1. And their scoring differential is plus 165. So those two teams are pretty similar. Team C, record 9-0. Sagarin strength of schedule, 81. FPI strength of schedule, 103. Record versus the Sagarin top 30, 0-0. They have not played anybody in the top 30 yet. Scoring differential, plus 296. They're kicking the crap out of everybody. So I think you know who Team C is. But which one is Team A and which one is Team B?
Is this where I'm supposed to talk? Team A is Penn State, right? And Team B...
Team A is Penn State. Team B is SMU.
Yeah.
So I think Penn State and SMU are pretty close. Now, Indiana's also pretty close. So, like, why is SMU down there at 13?
Yeah. And,
if you feel this way about Penn State and Indiana.
And SMU is part of the column, but it's like also, too, Penn State's strength of schedule is better than SMU's, right? But the committee...
Right now, but SMU's is better than Indiana's.
Right. But with SMU... they have 2 wins against teams that the committee thinks are better than any of the teams that Penn State has beaten. They ranked 2 of those teams, and
they are lower than Indiana even.
And they are lower at 13. They're 7 spots behind Penn State. And when you look at the blind resumes, like, I think that the scoring differential for Indiana is really impressive. Like, I think that stuff matters too. But when you look at the Team A to Team B side by side, that's not a 7-spot difference, right? Like, that's just...
And really, the only difference is that Penn State happened to play Ohio State. And both of their losses are very close losses to very good teams. So SMU's is a 3-point loss to BYU, which is currently undefeated. So,
and I'm not trying to pick on Penn State. Like, Penn State's a really good football team, and they're going to have plenty of opportunity to prove it, and they're probably going to make the playoff. I just think that, like, if your number one thing is getting it right and thinking it through, I just happen to think that we should get it right every week. And this is wrong. Like, it doesn't seem right to me. So,
and here's what I think is going to happen. Because I think the committee messed up here, and they know they messed up. And so if Indiana blows Michigan's doors off and that Washington-Penn State game is close, you're going to see a little tweak. And they're going to go, well, we thought Indiana's impressive performance against Michigan made them look better. And then Penn State struggled with Washington, and whether it was a struggle or not. If it's like semi-close, they'll say that. So that they will use that as an opportunity to, I think they know they messed up here.
Okay.
It is a logo thing. And it's funny because Penn State doesn't have a helmet logo.
Yeah.
I think this is logo discrimination, Ari, because SMU, if you've been watching this show, you know how I feel. SMU has the coolest helmet logo in America. And I think the committee members, the old school guys on the committee, are jealous of that pony. They want a plain, white, boring, no logo helmet. And they can't handle the speed of that pony.
I think that there is also a misunderstanding, too, of like the logo thing. It's not about Penn State's logo. It's about SMU and Indiana's logo.
Correct.
I think like that's what we have to like realize too. It's like Indiana and SMU. I think if SMU's resume was LSU's, they would be in the top 7. Like, I think that's
Agreed.
like and that's real. And the number one thing
Agreed.
that these teams are afraid of is being treated unjustly as a result of their logo or their perception as a program. SMU being in its first year in a power conference, and Indiana having not been a really good football team since like the Beatles were making records. Like, I get it. I think Indiana, I'll say this with a straight face, I think Indiana is a better football team than Penn State this year. And I think that Indiana has a chance to play with Ohio State on the road in 2 weeks. Like,
if this is a truly just world, we'll get an Indiana Penn State first round game that can just decide this for us. Like, that would be amazing.
And like at the end of the year,
9 or the 7-10,
when we have the complete information, and listen, I think the committee does a great job, right? Like, I'm not one of these like committee sucks people. I think they have made the right decision every single year except last year, and last year you couldn't win. Like, last year, that was somebody was going to get screwed, and there was no way around it. That was the first time that was ever going to happen. So it just didn't sit well with me that Indiana, who has done everything, gone above and beyond everything they possibly could imagine to get to this point, and plays in the same exact conference as Penn State, is penalized. And they think that their schedule is a bigger factor than the strength of schedule that Penn State is bolstered by in a loss. The best thing on Penn State's resume right now is a loss. That can't be the thing that holds your program up. I'm sorry. It just can't. Like, I that's just how I view it. So, again, it'll work itself out. And at the end of the road, when we get to 12 in December, I'm sure they'll get it right. But this was wrong, in my opinion.
I think you're going to see a tweak next week. I really do. All right, we got more saucy takes later in the show. I cannot guarantee that any of my takes will be as saucy as Ari, because Ari's been simmering that sauce all night, and it came out pretty ghost pepper hot.